I'm sure most of us love snacking on a lovely frosted donut once in a while, so for a special treat, why not make some pet-safe donuts for your hamster, mouse, gerbil or rat? For this recipe you're going to need 2 small bowls, some water, plain or wholemeal flour, beef dog biscuits, safe vegetables of your choice, and optionally some small seeds to use as sprinkles, and vegetable-based food colouring. You may also need some extra bowls, a spoon, a paintbrush or pencil, a baking tray, and an electric mixer. You can find extra information, quantities and alternative ingredients listed in the description box below, so be sure to check it out. Before we start, remember to preheat your oven to 150 degrees Celsius. First, grind your dog biscuits into dust. You could use a coffee grinder, mortar and pestle, or a rolling pin to do this. If you don't want to use dog biscuits, use a teaspoon of smooth peanut butter instead. This is going to give the donuts their colour. Pour 30 grams of flour and 2 tablespoons of water into each bowl, and mix them until you get a nice thick paste. In one of the bowls, pour in the ground up dog biscuits. Mix until it forms a dough. If it seems too sticky, add some more flour until you can form a ball. Put the dough ball in the fridge for 15 minutes. Take the paste from the second bowl, pour it into the mixer and add the vegetables. Mix it until it's smooth. This is going to be the frosting. If you don't like the colour of the mix, add in some vegetable food colouring of your choice. You can buy this in the baking section of most supermarkets. Pour the frosting mix back into the bowl. It's going to be very runny, so add another 30 grams of flour to it and mix it again until you get a ball of dough. Keep adding flour if you need to. Put the frosting into the fridge and take out the donut dough. Prepare your baking tray with some non-stick paper. Roll your donut dough into small balls, put them on the tray and press down a little on top. When you're done making your donuts, take the frosting out of the fridge. Break off small amounts and flatten and stretch them out to make a wobbly thin piece of frosting. Then lay them on top of the donuts. Flatten them down well to make sure they stick. Take the end of a paintbrush or pencil and push it through the centre of the donut to create the hole. Finally, if you want to add sprinkles to the donut, wipe a little water over the frosting and then dip the donut into the seeds. You could use millet, flax, or any other small seeds or treats. If, like me, you have some leftover frosting, you can roll it up into little balls, rub a little water on top, and dip them into the seeds as well. Place your treats in the oven and cook them for 20 to 30 minutes, or until they're hard all the way through. Once they've cooled down, you can feed them to your rodents. To make the treats last longer, store them in an airtight container in the fridge. They should last at least 2 weeks. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up, and you can of course share it with your friends. There's a button down below that will let you do that. If you really want to, you could even leave a comment down in the comment section below. And of course, if you're enjoying the videos on this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll always know when there's a new video to watch. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a brilliant weekend, all of you, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye bye. Pets Factor asks, have you always had such a passion for hamsters, or was it started by someone else's hamster? Actually, the answer to both of those is no. I have definitely never had a passion for hamsters forever, because and some of you already know this, I used to hate hamsters. Hello guys, I've just got back in from town. We went out to collect the post, and today a big parcel arrived for me, or I should say for the pets, which I've been really excited about receiving because it is from my favourite all-time company, viovet.co.uk. It is a UK-based pet company. However, it should be noted I don't live in the UK, I order from abroad, so there's obviously lots of details and stuff people always ask me about when it comes to ordering from abroad from that company. They do ship worldwide. I'm going to put any details about abroad ordering from Viovet in the description description box below. So if you're living abroad, if you're living outside the UK and you're interested in buying from Viavet, I have put the information in there. I don't work for Viavet though. This isn't any kind of paid promotion or anything like that. So I don't know all the details about them. So you will have to contact them directly if I haven't included something in the description box you want to know. Contact them directly and they should be able to answer that question for you. So as always, since the delivery time from the UK to Cyprus is about 2 weeks, I'd completely forgotten what I ordered, so it's been super exciting opening up and seeing everything again. I did have a bunch of vouchers to spend on Viavet, and I've had them sitting in my account for ages and ages and ages, no idea what to spend them on. Now, I did unpackage all of the stuff while we were in town because we had a load of shopping to do, and we didn't want to be carrying around this massive box with us or on the bus or anything like that. So I have seen all the stuff, and I have it all in a pile next to me. I wasn't able to show you obviously what condition it came in, but I was a bit disappointed this time because none of the items arrived bubble wrapped, which is really unusual for Viavet, and it bugs me a little bit more because of the fact that this has been delivered abroad, and they should definitely be bubble wrapping things when they're sending them abroad. So now I'm going to shut up and just show you what the things are because I'm so excited. I can't wait to be putting this in the cage. The worst bit is, none of this stuff can go in until after April because I'm already working on my Easter theme going on at the minute, and most of it doesn't suit it. So the first thing I got is from the classic for small pets rustic fun collection, like the bendy bridge and things. Now this one is a bit damaged, which I'm possibly going to have to fix. I'm going to have to somehow make some pet safe glue and fix this together. But the bits of wood are falling off, and there's a good example of why it needs to be bubble wrapped and sent well, because that happens when it gets thrown around. But this is just the oval house, and it has 1, 2, 3 little holes in it, a little hideaway thing. Oh, and that just fell off again. And it's so sweet and cute. But it really is just falling to pieces in my hand. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to fix that somehow. But it's adorable anyway. So the second thing I've got here is, again, rustic fun, and this is the tube house. And again, this is super sweet. There's a little silica packet. What's it there? Get rid of that, put it in the bin. And this is made from little natural wood branchiness, and it's got a little hole there, a little hole on the top. And I think this is brilliant because you can obviously have it sideways, or you can have it right way up, you can have it that way up if you don't like the idea of having a solid base on the bottom. I tend not to get houses with solid bases because if your hamster does urinate in them, especially if they're wood, they are not going to come clean at all, ever. Can we see a theme here? This is a piece of bogwood, and this is by a company called Tropics. I've not heard of them before, actually. This is from the reptile section, and you can buy this in the reptile and fish section of any kind of pet shop. Now, because these are handpicked randomly and they are a natural thing, all the pieces look completely different. They're all completely unique, and you've no idea what the piece you're going to get is going to look like. And I really love that about bogwood because it all looks so different, and it just makes the cage look far more natural when you've got loads of different looking pieces of wood in it. Next is the Rustic Fun Clip Bridge, and they are just a bendy bridge, yes, bendy bridge addiction, with little hooks on the end and obviously little flat platforms, and you can hook them onto the cage and use them as obviously a bridge. Now, I have seen these used very commonly as dividers in cages. People take out the hooks on them and they just sort of scoop it round a corner to keep maybe a sand pit in or a different kind of terrain inside it. And these work really well as dividers, and that is why I've bought it. I'm going to be using it as a divider. What I'm dividing off, I don't yet know, but I like the idea and I like seeing them in cages used as dividers. And obviously then you can just keep the hooks, and when you get bored of it being a divider and want it to be a bridge, just pop the hooks back in and hang it on up. I'm not going to unwrap this one because it looks particularly messy, and this is a Boredom Breaker natural herb and hide, which is in the small size. I have seen these around forever and ever and ever and ever and never bought one. Partially because hamsters I've had in the past been a bit more greedy when it comes to edible toys. But this is going to be in Amalaise's cage, and Amalaise is not as greedy as she looks. She is a very big hamster. She is a winter white hybrid, and being a winter white, she is naturally very chubby. She has a lot of fat folds, and that's just the way winter whites are. They get very big. They are the second biggest species of domestic hamster, and they just look super chunky and tubby. And you do expect them to eat a lot, and you expect that to be the reason they're so big. But she actually doesn't, so I know that I can put this in her cage and she'll have a bit of a nibble on it and she'll enjoy it as a toy, but she's not going to try and devour it like Einstein might do. I wouldn't trust Einstein with something like this. I would think he would probably get through it within a day. And all it is a cardboard tube covered in different kinds of herbs and nice things that your pets are really going to love. But I definitely wouldn't recommend giving this to a hamster who you know is going to devour it in a very short amount of time, because that might be a bit of an overload on the herbs, especially if they're not used to eating herbs. My hamsters don't typically have herbs in their diet. They have things like salads and meats and high protein foods and stuff like that, but herbs we don't usually include just because they're a bit harder to get hold of and they're a bit more expensive. Another toy I would never give to Einstein is the Naturals Carrot Cottage in small, and this is by Rosewood, which is Boredom Breaker. They are, I believe, the same company. Completely same stickers, just one says Boredom Breaker, one says Rosewood. And again, I can completely trust Amelais with toys like this because I know she's not going to go mental over it. Now, it does have a carrot top roof, and you do have to be careful when giving carrots to your pets because they are full of sugar. No matter what species of hamster you have, carrots are one of those occasional treat things. So I definitely would not recommend this for your hamster if they're going to devour that carrot. I've tested Amelais on carrot before. She's not too fussed on it. She'll sort of have a nibble here and there, which is why I'm going to trust her with this. If I do see she is eating this too quickly, I will take it away from her, of course. But I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to trust her with it because I think I can. And it's just, you know what, it's so cute. I've wanted one of these for a while. I kept putting it in my basket and taking it back out again. And I thought I'd taken it out this time as well, but apparently I didn't. And in case anyone's wondering, this is in the small size, which is suitable for any species of hamster. Next, I have something which I wouldn't usually buy, and I bought it because I want to experiment with an idea that I have, which you will find out possibly in the next couple of weeks. And these are the Super Pet Big Bark Bites. And it's just natural wood chew with a crunchy bark crust. Now, I was going to buy the applewood ones, but these are... It doesn't say what wood they are. They are mysterious wood. It's going to be something that's safe for pets, so you don't have to really worry about that. And it's just 4 pieces of wood, obviously, and they've got little holes in them so you can pop them on a kebab if you happen to own one. I don't own a kebab anymore. I need to get one. They're brilliant toys. Of course, in my haul, I have to have this. I got another bendy bridge. It's an addiction, I need help. This is a larger size than I normally get. This is what I would refer to as the Syrian sized one. It's the medium. It's again by Classic Rustic What's It Wants. And this actually looks different to the small ones in the colour. Now, it's either been made from different wood, or somebody's been sanding it down or something, but it looks nicer, in my opinion. It's a lot lighter. The normal bendy bridges are quite a dark brown, and they're lovely looking, but I really like this natural pale kind of wood. So I like this one quite a bit more than my other bendy bridges. So we're leaving the natural theme stuff now and going into the last couple of things I bought. The first one is something that's going to be very useful to me and would be very useful to many of the people who watch this video, who asked the question many times, how do you attach a water bottle to a tank? And this is how you do it. This is a water bottle. It's actually called an armor guard. It's a water bottle garter. It's designed for gerbils and for animals who chew at the plastic of their bottles. And what it does is it protects the plastic so they don't chew through it, make the bottle leak, or completely ruin the bottle altogether, or ingest any of that plastic and cause themselves any kind of injury. Now, it is designed to hang from the cage, so these are really, really good for using in tanks. And it does come with a hook attachment so that if your hamster is not in a tank, but you need something to guard the plastic of the bottle, you can just hook this over the bars and use it to protect it. But if you're using it in a tank, it comes with some Velcro, which is also known as hook and loop tape. And you can just stick that to it, stick it to the cage, tank, whatever bit. Just pop it on there, pop your bottle in, sorted, done. And the best bit about this is it's in my favourite colour, so I am very chuffed with this. I hope it's going to do the trick, because I'm getting a bit fed up of using homemade water bottle holders and using toys to hold the bottle up and things like that, and it will be so nice to have a proper bottle holder for once. Last of all, I had to pick up some Boredom Breaker Play Veg. These are the little carrots, and these are brilliant for all pets. They're brilliant chew toys, and they're so, so cute. But I bought these for Jack for his vegetable play patch because he's gone through all of his spare carrots now. And these are just little cardboard carrots wrapped in sizzle string with some corn coming out the top for the leaves, and it is coloured with pet safe colouring. And these are so cheap for how many you get, so I would strongly recommend, if you have a hamster that likes to chew on sizzle, get these. They'll save you a lot of money. Your hamster will love them, and they are just so cute. So there we are. That's everything I got with my vouchers. I think I actually came out really well from that. I got a lot of stuff, probably about the same amount as I would normally buy on a regular shopping trip. I haven't been able to buy anything recently because I've had no spare money to spend on toys and stuff for the pets. And I love my pet shopping, even though I don't need any more toys and things. I love buying new things. So it was really nice to be able to go out and spend vouchers on things I wouldn't normally get, and things I would perhaps normally think were a bit expensive and maybe not worth the money. I was able to buy some things I've been looking at for a long time that I've really wanted, that I thought were a little bit pricier than I could afford. So I'm super chuffed with that. My only downside this time was the fact that Viavet did not wrap the package properly, and that is definitely something they need to look into when they are shipping abroad, because it is so important. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through, guys. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share the video with your friends. Also, subscribe if you have not already, because we post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Don't forget, before leaving a comment, check out the description box. There's always extra information in there that may answer any questions that you have. And also, don't forget to go over to our second channel, Teacup Vlogs. We posted a video over the weekend, and it is a room tour video because a lot of you wanted to see what the room looks like in full, and I've got some great feedback from that video so far already, so thank you to everyone who has already watched it. But if you haven't watched it already, why not? Get over there and check it out, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye, guys. Hello guys, I'm sure most of us love snacking on a lovely frosted donut once in a while. So for a special treat, why not make some pet-safe donuts for your hamster, mouse, gerbil or rat? For this recipe you're going to need 2 small bowls, some water, plain or wholemeal flour, Hello guys, today I have a very easy tutorial for you showing you how to make a coconut hideaway like the ones you can buy in pet shops. All you need for this is a coconut, a bowl, a spoon or sharp knife, an electric drill and a hammer. Place your coconut into the bowl to keep it still while you work on it. Now if your coconut is fresh, it's going to have water inside it which needs draining out. So take your drill and drill a hole in the area that you want to make the entrance. Then use that hole to drain out the coconut water. Don't throw the water away though, as you could drink this yourself or use it for cooking. Plan out where you want to cut the entrance and how big you want it. You might want to mark the area with a pen to make it easier to cut. Drill holes around the area in the shape of a circle. Try to keep the holes as close together as you can, as this will make the next step much easier. If you have a circular attachment for your drill, just use that as it will be much quicker. Once you've drilled the holes in, it will look something like this. Now take your hammer and hammer in the entrance until that centerpiece falls through. With your spoon or a sharp knife, start digging out the flesh of the coconut. Make sure that you get the layer of skin out as well as the flesh, so you're left with a dry shell. Coconut flesh is safe to give to your hamsters as a treat, or you can eat it yourself. Once the shell is empty, you can skip straight onto cleaning it, but I like to neaten up the edges of the entrance first with a metal file. You could also use sandpaper for this, but it's completely optional. To clean the shell ready for use in your pet's cage, mix a few drops of vinegar with some warm water and let your coconut shell soak for 20 minutes. Make sure the inside of the shell gets nice and wet to disinfect it. Once it's finished soaking, you can just leave it to dry, or if you want to be extra clean, bake the shell in an oven at 100 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 minutes. When it comes out, it will be dry and completely disinfected. Now you can use it in your pet's cage. The hard shell of the coconut hideaway is brilliant for keeping claws and teeth trim. Plus, it looks super cute in natural style cages. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give it a thumbs up to let me know, share it with your friends and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to take care of yourselves and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye guys. And this is made from little natural wood branchiness, and it's got a little hole there, a little hole on the top, and I think this is brilliant because you can obviously have it sideways or you can have it right way up, you can have it that way up if you don't like the idea of having a solid base on the bottom. Hello guys, in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how you can make both some pet safe glue and pet safe colouring or paints. These come in really useful for a lot of homemade toys and treats. They're completely safe to be eaten and they give you a lot more options when it comes to crafting for pets. For the pet safe glue you're only going to need 2 ingredients, flour and water. For a mild glue suitable for paper and card projects, mix 1 part flour with 2 parts water. That means if you use 1 teaspoon of flour, then add 2 teaspoons of water. Mix it until it's smooth with no lumps and it's ready to use. For a slightly stronger glue that can be used on slightly bigger projects, use more flour than water so you get a thick paste. Then heat it in a pan until it starts to bubble. Use it while it's still hot. Flour glue is really useful, but it does take a long time to dry and it isn't strong enough for really big or complicated projects. If you need a glue that's really strong, I recommend using a hot glue gun, but making sure that the glue sticks say non-toxic on the packaging. As long as you're only using a very small amount, then it's going to be okay, but watch for signs of chewing in the glued area and remove it from your pet if necessary. Pet safe colouring is incredibly useful. You can use it for painting toys, colouring treats, all sorts of things. To make it, you're going to need a safe fruit or vegetable in the colour you want. For these examples, I'm going to be showing you how to make 3 different colourings from carrots, lettuce and berries. First, you need to chop up your fruit and veg into smaller pieces. This will make it easier to get the colour out. If you're using a hard fruit or vegetable, you will need to use a blender to get the best results. I'm going to be using a blender for the carrot and lettuce. Pour a small amount of water into the blender. The amount depends on how much colouring you want and how vibrant you want the colour. The more water you put in, the lighter the colour's going to be. Put your fruit or veg in there too. Replace the lid and give the whole thing a good blend. Once the mix is smooth, you'll need to separate the pulp from the colour. Using a strainer over a bowl, pour the mix through. The pulp should remain in the strainer while the colouring will go into the bowl. There we go, a lovely shade of orange that's going to be perfect for painting or using in treats. I've used that exact same method on the lettuce to get this deep green shade. As berries are a soft fruit, you don't have to use a blender for them, so I'm going to show you an alternative method that uses a pan instead. Pour your desired amount of water into the pan and add your soft fruit. Bring everything to a boil and start stirring well. If you stop stirring, the water will boil away and you will lose your colour, so keep on going until the fruit begins to pulp. You should notice that the water begins to change colour. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes at the most, and then you just have to repeat the straining step to separate the fruit pulp from the colouring. And there we are, lovely, vibrant colours that are completely edible. When used as a paint, the colour will be slightly paler, but you can paint on several layers to darken it, or use more fruit and veg when making it. In the description box is going to be a list of safe fruits and vegetables that you can use for making other colours as well. If you don't mind spending the money, a commercial alternative to these homemade colours would be vegetable-based food dye. You can find them in the baking sections of most supermarkets, but they can be quite pricey. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope it's been useful to you. Don't forget, if you enjoyed it, to press the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps this channel to grow. Take care everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye! Hello guys, today I have a very easy tutorial for you showing you how to make a coconut hideaway like the ones you can buy in pet shops. All you need for this is a coconut, a bowl, a spoon or sharp knife, an electric drill, and a hammer. Guys, since Easter is just around the corner, I thought it was about time we started some Easter tutorials. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an adorable Easter egg hideaway for your pet. For this tutorial you're going to need shredded tissue or white paper, pet safe flour glue, a balloon blown up to your preferred size, pet safe vegetable dye, scissors, and paintbrushes. First thing is first, you need to build your egg shape. To do this, take the flour glue and paint it all over the surface of the balloon. Then proceed to lay strips of tissue over it, sticking them flat with extra glue. Create a whole layer of paper mache over the balloon, leaving the knot uncovered, and then start a second layer. When that's done, add one more layer to make sure you get a nice solid egg shape. Place the egg somewhere warm to dry overnight. It may take a day or two depending on how warm it is and how much glue you used. When it's fully dry, your egg will feel firm to the touch. Now it's time to remove the balloon. You can either pop it with a pin or cut the top of the knot off to release the air. You will be left with a tiny hole in the top of the egg, but it's barely noticeable. As you can see, when we deflated the balloon, the bottom of my egg collapsed in. That's because I didn't add enough layers of paper mache to the bottom, making the structure weak. We can fix it a little in just a moment. To remove the deflated balloon, take a pair of scissors and cut away an entrance on the front of the egg. Make sure it's big enough for your pet to get in and out of. Then reach into the hole and remove the balloon, plus any pieces of loose tissue. To fix the collapsed bottom, I'm taking the soft end of a paintbrush and by inserting it through the entrance, gently pushing the bottom out again to get a better shape. To avoid any of this happening, make sure you use at least 3 layers of paper mache all over the balloon. Now it's time to paint the egg. I'm using a pinky peach for the main colour. Be careful not to get the egg too wet or it will lose its structure. If you need to add a second coat of colour, wait until the first coat is dry. Once the base colour is completely dried, you can add any other colours and patterns that you want. I'm adding red stripes and green dots. Leave it to dry one more time and it's ready to be given to your pet. The egg hideaway is completely safe to be chewed on and ingested, so you don't need to worry if your pet takes a liking to it. Fill it full of substrate and nesting to make it nice and cosy, and maybe hide some treats in there for your pet to find. Because the hideaway is made of biodegradable materials and vegetable paint, it won't last forever, but when the time comes to throw it away, its eco-friendliness means you won't be harming the environment. And you can paint them to suit any time of year, so you will always have the perfect pet house. What a great alternative to factory-made hideaways. As always, thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I really hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, share this video on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe if you haven't already. There will be more Easter themed videos next week, so I hope you're really looking forward to them. Take care everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Hello guys, in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how you can make both some pet safe glue and pet safe colouring or paints. These come in really useful for a lot of homemade toys and treats. They're completely safe to be eaten, and they give you a lot more options when it comes to crafting for pets. Guys, welcome to part 2 of the Q&A. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, it will be linked down in the description box below. I just want to say before I get started on these questions, I'm not taking any more questions now. We've got plenty of them to be going on with, and this is going to last over a couple of weeks. One episode a week is probably going to last at least 5 weeks to get most of these questions answered. So please, no more questions, please and thank you. And I'm just going to jump in now from where we left off last time, and hopefully this will not be nearly as long. Miguel Cisneros asks, have you ever been to the US, and was it for something specific or vacation, and what was your first pet? No, I have never been to the US. I don't really have a desire to go to the US at all. It's not really my kind of place. It's a lovely country, don't get me wrong, it's just not one that I'm too interested in visiting. My first pet, as I answered in the last video, was a frog. Totally Hamster Advice asks, why did you start YouTube? It's a bit of an odd one because I originally started on a different channel. I've had a couple of different YouTube channels and they've all been for different topics and different things, and my last one that I had was just random videos. And while I had that channel, I was part of the forum Hamster Central, and I used to spend days and hours on that. And everyone used to share their videos by posting them on YouTube and then putting a link onto the forum for everyone to watch it. So I started uploading my videos onto my old channel to put them onto Hamster Central on the forum, and then I decided that my channel was getting a bit messy because it had all these weird videos and then all these hamster videos and bits and pieces, and I like tidy channels where it's just one subject per channel. I like those a bit better. So to tidy up my YouTube accounts, I opened a new one just for my hamster videos, and if you go back and look at my original videos, they are just cute footage of my hamsters being adorable and sweet and lovely. And I didn't actually start doing hamster care or hamster tutorials for quite a few months after I started this channel, and I originally started doing the care videos because I just found it easier to explain things to people if I could show them rather than explain it through writing like I was doing on the forums. So I would make the videos and send them to people just to explain things a little bit better, and that kind of just grew, and people started subscribing and watching my videos and commenting on them, and it just sort of happened, and I didn't expect it to, but it did, and I think that's probably the best way to start a YouTube channel. Ooh, someone's messaging me. Animal Expert asks, how high can a Roborovski hamster climb without falling? Now it depends on how daring the Roborovski is. They can climb quite high, actually, but I just wouldn't recommend putting a Roborovski in that kind of situation where it can climb, because hamsters can be little daredevils, and many of them do like to just throw themselves off the bars when they get to the top, or they just let go. I don't know why. Some of them will climb back down, but they do like to just launch themselves off it because they're strange like that. So if you do have a robo that is climbing quite high, which I'm possibly guessing you do, which is why you're asking that question, I would recommend either putting your robo in a tank-style cage. Tanks are the best for Roborovskis. They're perfect cages for them. A robo and a glass tank perfectly matched together. Either doing that or putting in a lot of hammocks and shelves and things in case your robo does decide to climb to its absolute highest point and throw itself off, so it can at least be caught and safe and it's not going to get hurt. Happy Hamsters asks, what is your favourite sport if you had to pick one? I'm not really a sports person. I don't watch sports. I don't play sports. I used to play sports when I was younger. I used to be on our school's rugby team, and I have a trophy for rugby. So I don't think I could really pick a team, but I suppose gun to head I would go ahead and say rugby because I can sit and watch that and understand what's going on. But yeah, sport's not really my thing. What's your favourite colour? My favourite colour specifically is emerald green. And what do you use to edit your videos? I use Sony Vegas 12. I've always used Vegas for all of my videos. I haven't always used version 12 because it's quite new. I originally used version 9 and that was brilliant and I really recommend it. And I recommend if you want to get it cheaply, go and buy the program off somewhere like eBay or Amazon secondhand. You will get it for an absolute steal of a price compared to the original. Amana M asks, will you be getting any more pets in the future? If so, what would it be or what would you like? Yeah, we probably will be getting pets in the future. My next pet that I would like to get would be a dog. We can't get any more pets while we're living here. This is literally all this room is the space we have, and it's me and Dan and Jack who takes up most of the room, and the 2 hamsters in their cages. So we don't have the space for any more animals. But when we do have the space, well, first of all, I'd like to get a second rabbit for Jack. I desperately want to get him a friend, because rabbits should always live in pairs and groups. The only reason he's on his own is because obviously he came from a really weird situation, sort of just turned up in our lives one day. We didn't actually go out to get a rabbit, and I never planned on ever owning a rabbit. I wasn't really that interested in them. But I love having my little Jack. But I would like to get him a friend first of all. But the next new animal I would get is more than likely going to be a dog. But I'd also like to get some mice, some rats, a cat, obviously. Everyone loves cats. Happy Hamster Barlow asks, hey, me and Millie want to know how much and should we get a rabbit? I'm 13 and Millie is 9. To be honest, my complete honest opinion, having had Jack in our lives, is that if you aren't in any kind of situation where you're getting money come into your life, financialness in your life, then a rabbit is not the pet for you. They are so expensive, and there's so much you need to do for them. You've got to pay for their neuterings, or spayings if it's a female. There's their vaccines every year, vet trips, obviously. They live for 10 years, and that's a lot of time to be, going without vet trips. They're obviously going to need vet trips in that time, so that's vet bills to consider. They go through a ridiculous amount of hay every single month, spend an absolute fortune on hay. It's absolutely crazy. The food we spend a fortune on. And it's just always money. When it comes to rabbits, all I'm seeming to find is that it's money, money, money. It's completely worth it. It really is. But don't put yourself in the situation of getting a rabbit if you aren't financially ready for it. And the other thing to consider is because you're very young, your rabbit is likely to live about 10 to 12 years. That's the average lifespan of rabbits, which means you will have the rabbit until you're 23 and Millie will be 19. Now you have to consider the fact that around those ages you will possibly be going off to college or university, or maybe moving out, or maybe even starting your own family at 23, you never know. So you've got to think ahead, you've got to plan for the future, you've got to plan for the thought of if you want to go to university or you want to go to college or anything like that, what's going to happen to the rabbit? You have to consider these things because rabbits are a lifetime commitment. They are just as much commitment as a small dog. I would definitely not say they're any less commitment than a small dog because they take up the same amount of time in your life, bar the walking obviously, but they just require so much time and money and an entire lifetime of care. So please, if you do want to get a rabbit, I'm not trying to discourage you, but think very carefully about that decision. Go do a lot of research into the financial side of it. Go do a lot of research into what you need to do to care for it. The cage, if you're not having a house rabbit and it lives outside, the cage has to be at least 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot with, I believe, an 8 foot by 4 foot run permanently attached to it. Rabbits need a heck of a lot of space. So please go do your research into it. Consider it very seriously. They are a very serious long-term pet, and please don't get a rabbit just because they're sweet or cute or anything like that, because you're going to have them for a very long time and they need your full dedication and your full responsibility. Caden Hernandez asked, what was your first hamster and what was its name? My first hamsters were actually a pair of Roborovskis. They were sisters, and I should mention before I say what their names are, I was told they were male when I got them. Well done, Useful Pet Shop. For 9 months I believe they were male, in fact, or until they were 9 months old anyway, when I found out they were female. So they were named Galaxy Cookie Crumble and Truffle Creme Prince of Bobtails. And even when I found out that they were girls, I still called her the Prince of Bobtails. So that name stuck. They were too old for me to change it, so that's the way it was. Jessica Jeffers asks, I have 2 Chinese hamsters called Bubble and Squeak. They're just under a year old, they're brothers and get on very well. Soon I'll be getting a big cage and as they're growing, and I believe they require more space. However, people have told me that they should not be together and that I'm a bad owner. Sorry, there's a read more button here. Oh goodness, you really did ask a question, didn't you? I've had a winter white dwarf and a Syrian before, and they both lived nearly 4 years. They never seem to fight. They have the occasional squeak at each other, but they never bite or hurt each other. I need my glasses, and haven't since I got them in October 2013. Should I keep them together because they're very close and sleep together and will not run on the wheel unless they're together? They even eat together and share the food, or should I separate them as many have told me to do? Right, I will say straight up, Chinese hamsters are solitary hamsters and they should live alone. My personal recommendation is that you split them up. I know they're close now, but you never ever know when they're suddenly going to turn on each other and fight and start attacking each other. And it's just better for them to be apart. Now, the reason many people think they can live together is because pet shops and all sorts of people who sell them as dwarf hamsters just because they're small. They're not dwarf hamsters. Dwarf hamsters are a special little group of hamsters, and they live in colonies, and that's part of their natural instinct. Syrian hamsters and Chinese hamsters, both of them obviously not dwarf hamsters, but both of them have one thing in common, and that's that they're solitary animals, and they live happier lives living on their own, and they live actually more stressful lives living with hamsters of the same species. So I do recommend that you separate them. I know it might be a bit difficult because obviously you like seeing them together and they seem to be very happy together. It is the best thing for them. And they won't get depressed. This is the big difference. When you separate dwarf pairs that are really close together, they do suffer from a type of depression. They do miss their partner. I found a lot of the times when my robos lost their cage mate, they would mourn for them. They'd become very depressed and they wouldn't eat and they wouldn't be able to get on so well for a couple of weeks. Chinese hamsters, when they're separated, don't tend to go through this. This kind of shows that they don't have the same kind of strong, necessary bond that dwarf hamsters have with each other, and so they are going to be okay if you separate them. They are going to be fine and happy, and they won't miss each other. The one thing I do want to point out, though, is that you said here that people have told me they should not be together, and that I'm a bad owner, but I had no idea when I bought the hamsters, that when I bought them they should be generally kept alone. And this is the thing that gets me, is how many people call owners who keep Chinese hamsters or Syrian hamsters together bad owners. Syrian hamsters, okay, that is kind of down to not doing research and stuff like that. But when it comes to Chinese hamsters, there's a massive amount of confusion here, because the pet shops are selling them as dwarfs. They're actually advertising them as having to live in pairs, which is completely wrong and irresponsible and just uneducated of the shops who do that. Now, not all pet shops do that, I'm just saying, but I've seen quite a lot of them that do, especially the large chain ones. And there's just so much confusion over whether they're dwarfs or whether they're not dwarfs, whether they're solitary, whether they live in groups. So in no way does that make you a bad owner if you didn't know, because, I mean, how are you supposed to know when there's so much confusing information going around? So please ignore those people calling you a bad owner. They clearly have no empathy of any kind, and I don't know whether they're people who think that, you know, that mistakes don't happen or something like that, but everyone makes mistakes. It happens for all of us, and you definitely shouldn't feel bad about having done it, but all the same, I do recommend that they are separated from now on. Lucy McRoberts asks, how big does a Syrian hamster cage have to be in centimetres? That all depends on your country. Every country has a different minimum size, and the minimum size means you can't have a cage any smaller than that. The church bells are going. I don't know if you can hear that. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. The minimum size in centimeters if you live in the United States or you live in Canada is 60 by 40 centimeters, and a cage should be at least 30 centimeters tall, and that's just to fit in a decent sized wheel. Now, if you live in the United Kingdom or you live over here in Europe, the size is quite a bit bigger. The animal care is just a little bit more, I wouldn't say advanced, but I would say expectations are higher on this side of the planet, or on this side of the pond, I suppose. And the minimum size over here is 80 by 50 centimeters, again with at least 30 to 40 centimeters of height in there. But these are the minimums set down by both hamster associations and animal welfare groups for the different countries. So, completely depends. US, Canada, 60 by 40 centimeters, UK, Europe, 80 by 50 centimeters. And I should say, Syrian hamsters don't actually have bigger cages than dwarf hamsters. Dwarf hamsters are typically more energetic than Syrians, and so they need equal size cages. There's no special measurement for a Syrian and special measurement for a dwarf. They all should have the biggest cage you can get your hands on. So that's going to have to be it for this week's Q&A, otherwise it's going to go on forever. There will be another episode next week, continuing on from where we have left off. This is definitely going to be a series that goes on for a couple of weeks, so please, no more questions. We have so many of them. It took me so long to get to this part of the comment section to find this set of questions. It's unbelievable. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for asking the questions. I hope those people whose questions I answered today are happy with the answers they got. Yes, and don't forget part 1 is linked in the description box in case you haven't seen it already. And now it's the weekend, so we can go and all relax and sleep and have a wonderful time. I hope you have a lovely weekend, a couple of days off school or work or whatever it is you do in the week time. And take care of yourselves, of course. I will see you tomorrow if you're on my other channel, Monday if you're only here. Bye bye, guys. Guys, this month I'm going to show you both of the hamster cages in one video. Their cages have been set up to reflect a springtime/Easter theme, so they're full of bright colours and cute toys. I'm going to start by showing you Einstein's cage, which is the lac cage, and you can find the tutorial for it linked in the description box. This cage has 903 square inches of floor space, it's fully enclosed, and the substrate being used is a non-branded aspen. Beginning at the front of the cage, we have a puzzle playground tunnel. There's a sisal string carrot chew and an extendable play tube that leads up to one of the shelves. On the shelf is a snuggle pouch with an adorable cupcake print. Beneath the shelf is a bendable bridge, which has some tissue stuffed under it for Einstein's nest. Next to it is his sand bath/litter tray, and there's also a second bendy bridge being used as a step up to Einstein's 11-inch blue Trixie wheel. On the left side of the cage, things get a little more colourful. He has a 75ml blue water bottle and a little blue clip-on food dish beneath that, a board and breaker play and climb kit, an orange and turquoise tube, and a couple of hide-and-seek toys, a green cube and a yellow triangular prism. There's another shelf with a cute little dinosaur toy and a crinkle tunnel, plus 2 homemade hammocks, which are by far Einstein's favourite kind of toy. Now on to Amelaise's tank. Amelaise has the Detolf, which can be bought from IKEA and has 1024 square inches of floor space. It's just a little bit bigger than the lac, and the reason Amelaise has it instead of Einstein is simply because Amelaise has a lot more energy and likes to play a lot more. Einstein has a very lazy personality and likes to sleep or sit up high and watch everyone else. He's never really enjoyed playing, not even on his wheel. The Detolf is great for Amy because it offers her enough space to run off all of her energy, and it also allows her to have very deep substrate for digging, something she adores doing, but Einstein has never shown an interest in. Going from left to right, Amelaise has her sand bath in an Easter basket, a bendy bridge, and her water bottle, which is held up by a bottle guard. There's a terracotta plant pot for hiding in, a puzzle playground house, a bird house which she uses as a hideaway, a blue plastic tube, some sisal carrot chews, plus her new log tunnel. She has her little yellow food bowl which still has her dinner in it, and in front of that is a garden decoration hideaway that's a hedgehog on a boot. There's also her new carrot cottage, which she's had for just over a week now, and as expected has shown little interest in the carrot, apart from a few nibbles here and there. She has another bendy bridge, and this is my favourite hideaway of them all, a green vase with daisies on it. I bought this especially for her Easter cage, but I have to say after Easter I know I will be using this for flowers only, as it's far too cute to put away. There's a second orange tube, and her Easter egg house which I posted a tutorial on last week. That's just stuffed with tissue and meadow hay for nesting. And finally her 8-inch purple comfort wheel, probably the noisiest wheel I have ever owned. So there we are, that's both of the cages and their spring/Easter setups. I really love springtime because of the bright colours that pop up everywhere, so I hope I've successfully incorporated the season into this month's cage designs. Don't forget to check the description box for any extra information and links to find me on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit those like and share buttons if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye! Hello guys, welcome to part 2 of the Q&A. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, it will be linked down in the description box below. I just want to say before I get started on these questions, I'm not taking any more questions now. We've got plenty of them to be going on with, and this is going to last over a couple of weeks. One episode a week is probably going to last at least 5 weeks to get most of these questions answered. So please, no more questions, please and thank you. So you're considering bringing home a long-eared, cotton-tailed family member. Are you ready? Well, in the spirit of the Easter season and with rabbits already being snatched up as novelty Easter presents, I thought it would be a good idea to make sure that you're prepared for the big responsibility that rabbits bring. Rabbits make wonderful additions to a home, but their responsibility is grossly underestimated, and they aren't the right pets for everyone. With so many of them filling up the rescue centres, perhaps this video will at least prevent one rabbit being mistakenly bought for or by someone who discovers that it isn't the right pet for them. So here are just 10 points about rabbit ownership and the responsibility that it brings. Rabbits live on average for 8 to 12 years. The smaller the rabbit, the longer it will live. This means you will still have your rabbit in a decade's time. Are you ready to give 10 years to your rabbits? And will you have the ability to keep them for that long? Do you have plans to start a family in that time? Or if you're younger, do you have plans to go to college or university? What will happen to your rabbits when you get to these stages in your life? Consider your future carefully when deciding if a rabbit is right for you. Rabbits need to be spayed or neutered to keep them in good health, and also to help prevent unwanted behaviours, especially if they're living with other rabbits. They also need regular vaccinations to protect them from common diseases like myxomatosis and RHD. Depending on how much your vet charges, it may be a good idea to get insurance for your rabbits in order to help cover any unexpected vet costs. Rabbits are naturally social animals who live in large groups in the wild. You should always consider getting 2 rabbits so that they can play, groom and socialise with each other. This is especially important if you aren't at home much. If you work, go to school, or your rabbit is alone for long periods of time, a companion is going to keep them entertained and happy all day, so you won't have to worry while you're not there. Keeping rabbits in small hutches was a practice that was introduced in Victorian times as somewhere to keep the rabbits before they were sent to be eaten. Thankfully, nowadays the rabbit's welfare comes first, and there is a big difference in the way pet rabbits have to be kept, and in what is considered to be acceptable for their welfare. The cages sold in pet shops are based on those Victorian-style cages and are not suitable for permanent living. A pet rabbit's cage should be no smaller than 6 foot long by 2 foot wide and 2 foot tall, with an 8 foot by 4 foot run permanently attached, and they should have a couple of hours outside of their cage every day as well. Alternatively, your rabbits could live indoors just like a cat or dog does. House rabbits are increasingly popular, and it is said that they live longer and sometimes healthier lives than outdoor rabbits. They're also exceptionally easy to litter train. Fencing off an area in the house, or even an entire room for your rabbit to live in, is a great way of providing space. If you don't have any cats or dogs in your house, you could also consider letting your rabbits have free range of the entire home, so long as it's rabbit-proofed, of course. Remember that rabbits love to dig and chew, so if your home is filled with valuable or expensive furniture, they might not be the right pet for you. Hay and grass make up 80% of a rabbit's diet, and they should always have access to it 24 hours a day. Your rabbit will eat massive amounts of hay each week, and this can get pricey. Fresh vegetables should make up about 10% of the diet, and good quality rabbit pellets should only make up 5%. You should look into which kind of hay, vegetables and pellets are available to you so that you can estimate how much food will cost each month. This price varies for every owner. Also remember that rabbits are strict herbivores and should never consume meat, dairy, nuts or seeds of any kind. Rabbits do not like to be picked up and cuddled. They are prey animals and picking them up is extremely stressful and upsetting for them. All interactions with rabbits should be done at their level. That means with all 4 feet firmly on a solid surface. The yearly cost of 2 rabbits averages roughly $1,000 US. You also have to consider the cost of vet bills, which varies from place to place, but nonetheless can cost hundreds depending on the treatment. There are ways to save money such as on DIY toys and buying your hay in bales from farms, but they still aren't cheap pets. In the United Kingdom alone, rabbits are the #1 most neglected pet, with over 60,000 of them being abandoned or dumped in rescues every single year. In the US, they are the 3rd most abandoned pet. The average time for a rabbit to be abandoned is after just 3 months of being brought home, so before visiting breeders or pet shops, take a look in your local rescues and on adoption websites. It's very unlikely that you won't find rabbits near you up for adoption. The best times to check rescues are in the weeks following the Easter and Christmas holidays. This is when unwanted gift rabbits start turning up, and most of them are still very young, usually less than 6 months old. According to shelters and rescue organisations, the majority of rabbits are abandoned due to their owners, who are commonly young children, losing interest in them or not having the time for their care. Other reasons for abandonment include being too expensive to keep, moving house, having too many pets, and having allergies. These are reasons that could easily be avoided with careful planning, research, and preparation before getting a rabbit, instead of impulse buying or failing to research their care needs and financial requirements. To make the best start as a rabbit owner, research everything you need to know and more. Get your information from credible websites and forums, and not in the Google search engine or on Yahoo Answers. Rabbits require a responsible owner who's going to be dedicated to them their whole lives. Having a stable home and stable financial income is key to being prepared for any pet. If you live in a rented house, be sure to discuss the possibility of rabbits with your landlord. Not every homeowner wants animals in their house. Spending plenty of time and bonding with your rabbits is also very important, especially for spotting changes in health. As a prey animal, rabbits will hide illness and injuries, and they rely on you to know when they need to see their vet. Rabbits are not simple pets. They're not cheap pets, and they certainly aren't young children's pets. However, having them in your life is very rewarding, and they are wonderful animals. They're worth every minute and every penny. Just be sure to think carefully before making the decision to bring rabbits into your life. Research their needs, join a rabbit forum, visit modern rabbit websites, and work out how much you're going to need to spend each month. Don't get rabbits if you're unable to fully provide for them. You have an entire lifetime in which you can own whatever pets you want. If you aren't ready for them now, just be patient and wait until you are. Hopefully this video has helped you to decide if rabbits are the right pet for you. If you found it useful and enjoyed it, why not hit the like and share button to help us out? In the description box is going to be some links to some excellent rabbit websites, forums and YouTube channels that I strongly recommend you checking out. Thank you so much for watching this video guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye! I'm going to start by showing you Einstein's cage, which is the lac cage, and you can find the tutorial for it linked in the description box. This cage has 903 square inches of floor space, it's fully enclosed, and the substrate being used is a non-branded aspen. Hello guys, well you have begged and begged for this video, so I shall deliver, and today I'll be showing you how to make the Easter egg treats seen in April's cage tours earlier this week. These treats are suitable for all rodents, but not for rabbits or guinea pigs, as they contain flour, peanut butter and mealworms. For these treats you're going to need half a cup of flour. Try and use wholemeal or whole wheat flour, as these are a lot healthier than plain white flour. A third of a cup of crushed treats. You can use any kind of dry treat that you want. Dog biscuits, hamster kibble, rolled oats, whatever. I've chosen to use dried mealworms and I've crushed them up into a fine powder. 1/4 cup of mashed fruit. Again, this can be any fruit you want, but keep in mind that the fruit does affect the colour, so if you use, for example, red or purple fruit, the treats will be red or purple. I'm using a banana, and because this is a very pale fruit, it's not going to affect the overall colour. 1 teaspoon of smooth peanut butter, this is optional, and 1 teaspoon of water. Before starting, as always, preheat your oven to 150 degrees Celsius, that's 300 degrees Fahrenheit or gas mark 2. First, mix together your fruit, peanut butter and water with a fork. Mix it really well for about 5 minutes until they come together into a peanut banana kind of sludge. Add in half of the crushed treats and mix it really well. Add in the other half and repeat. When it's all mixed together really well, start adding the flour in slowly to help stiffen the dough. As you add more flour, you might find it easier to mix it in with your hands. Once it's all mixed in, you should have a perfect, albeit slightly smelly, dough ball. If at this point you decide you want to change the dough's colour, add a little vegetable food colouring to it and mix really well to make sure it's all one colour. Once you've finished mixing in the colour, I find letting the dough sit for 20 minutes really helps the colour to set and makes the finished treats look more vibrant. That's completely optional though, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Next, you can start shaping the dough. Egg shapes are super easy to make. First, roll the ball around in your hand until it's smooth all over with no cracks. Then, angling your hands, roll the tip of the egg. When you cook them, your treats will sort of melt a little, so make your eggs a little taller than you want them. Once you've made all of your eggs, pop them onto a baking tray and shove them in the oven. I like to cook my treats for about 20 to 30 minutes so they're rock hard all the way through. The reason I always cook them for so long is because hard treats really help with your hamster's dental health. If you're having trouble getting your hamster to gnaw chew toys, hard treats are almost certain to solve the problem. When you remove the treats from the oven, let them cool down before feeding them. You don't have to use this recipe just for eggs either. You can make any shape or design you want. You could even mix 2 colours together for a really cool effect. Store your treats in an airtight container and make sure that that container is kept in a cool place. The treats should last for a little over a month, and you can feed 1 or 2 of them to your rodent each week. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye. So you're considering bringing home a long-eared, cotton-tailed family member. Are you ready? Well, in the spirit of the Easter season and with rabbits already being snatched up as novelty Easter presents, I thought it would be a good idea to make sure that you're prepared for the big responsibility that rabbits bring. Hello guys, welcome to part 3 of the Q&A. This is the answers section. If you haven't seen part 2 yet, it will be linked in the description box down below. So I'm just going to jump straight in, answer as many questions as I can, and if I do come across any that I've already answered in previous videos, I am of course going to skip them. So, let's get on with it. Rochelle Hutchins asks, what is your favourite wild animal? What is your favourite food? What is your favourite colour? If you could have any small pet, what would it be? And last but not least, what is your favourite YouTube video that you ever did? My favourite wild animal would be a tiger. I love tigers, they are amazing and beautiful. My favourite food is homemade vegetarian lasagna made by either my mother or my father. They are separated, they have been separated since I was 5 years old, and I cannot decide whose homemade lasagna I like more, which is a bit of a situation there, but oh well. My favourite colour is emerald green, or any shade of green to be honest. I'm particularly liking mint green at the minute, I'm not sure why. And if I could have any small pet, I would quite like to have some mice, or I don't know, something, a nice little small kind of dwarf-sized pet would be really nice. I'm really into rodents, so any kind of rodent I would love to have. And last but not least, what is your favourite YouTube video that I ever did? To be honest, I don't think I have a favourite out of all my videos. I like my Little Paws series, I really enjoyed doing that, and I want to try and get back into doing that if I have the time to do the footage and everything and then write a script for it. I don't think I have a favourite. Maybe the Christmas one that I did this year. I was quite chuffed with that because we were filming that for a long time. We were up until about 2 in the morning filming that. So yeah, okay, I'm going to say my Christmas one from this year is probably the favourite one that I've made so far. Katie Wigglesworth, I love your name. It is awesome. Says, what type of rabbit is Jack? Would you ever get a rat or a ferret? And how do you welcome a new small pet into your home? Jack is just a mixed breed. We're not really sure what he is because we don't know his history, where he came from, how he started out in life, or anything like that. I have asked quite a lot of people if they know what he might be mixed with, and all the suggestions say he seems to have a lot of Californian in him, so we're sort of going with that. He's prominently mixed, but he has possibly some Californian in him. Would I ever get a rat or ferret? Yes, I would love to have rats or ferrets. That would be awesome. My only problem is rats are really, really, really hard to find here. You don't see them in pet shops at all. Ferrets you see everywhere, and the bizarre thing is, when I was living in Wales, you would see rats in all the pet shops and you could never find ferrets. Yeah, you see ferrets all the time here and no rats, which is a bit backwards. So I think I'll probably end up getting a ferret eventually. Maybe. I'd like to. How do you welcome a new small pet into your home? I kind of have a set routine where I bring the animal home. I try my very best not to disturb them for the first 2 days, basically not talking to them, not interacting with them, trying to stay away from the cage and trying to be quiet in the room. So yeah, I sort of let them settle in because moving home is a really scary thing for new animals, and especially if they're younger, it's a terrifying process for them. With hamsters, if they're too stressed, they can develop wet tail, which is a stress-related illness, and it is quite a deadly illness as well. And then after they've had those couple of days to settle in, I start getting them used to me by chatting to them, just whispering to them and talking to them, and sort of being around them and getting them used to my presence, and then eventually I will go into start taming as well. Hamster Haven 1H says, have any of your hamsters had an accidental birth? What is the longest hamster life you have ever encountered? Approximately how much money have you spent on hamster supplies? Do you wear contacts? And what camera/video editor do you use? No, I've never had an accidental litter. I am a retired breeder of Roborovskis. I was an ethical breeder with the National Hamster Council, which is one of the biggest hamster associations in the world, and that was when I was living in Wales. And I was very well researched on it. I know all the genetics of the Roborovskis and how they work internally and the health problems that can occur with them, or the neurological problems. I could write a small book on Roborovskis, and I did years of research before I went into the breeding, and I didn't breed pet shop or rescued hamsters. I bred other ethically bred hamsters, and I had their pedigrees, and I knew what lines they came from and all the colourings and stuff, and what colourings I was going to get from my litter, and all of that stuff. So I've never had an accidental birth, but I do have experience with litters, which is why I'm quite happy to help out anyone who's had accidental litters. I will never, I'm going to put this out here now, I will never make videos on breeding hamsters, how to breed hamsters or anything like that, just because my views have changed a lot since then. Back then I was very much, I liked breeders, and I had a lot of breeder hamsters as well as rescue hamsters. I was, equally liking breeders and rescues as long as they were ethical breeders, not backyard breeders or rodent farm breeders. But since then, I definitely am more on the side of rescue, and I think it's just because I've got older and I've matured a lot more. So I will never be doing videos on breeding, so please, nobody ask. The oldest hamster I've ever encountered, it wasn't mine, it was my cousin's hamster, and it was, I believe it was 3.5, nearly 4 years old. It was a Chinese hamster, and they do live for about 3 years. Every time I hear stories about hamsters living for a really long time, it always seems to be Chinese hamsters and occasionally Syrian hamsters. And I have heard a few stories of Roborovskis living for 3 to 4 years as well, but the longest one I've ever actually met is a 3.5-year-old Chinese hamster. Approximately how much money have you spent on hamster supplies? Goodness, wow, a lot, too much, probably more than I should have. Over the years, bearing in mind, I don't go out and spend 100 quid on hamster supplies or something. Over the years, I've probably spent over a couple of hundred quid on them, but I have had hamsters for the last 4 years now. And I've had a lot of hamsters and I've bought a lot of supplies. To be honest, what I like to do though is I like to buy things cheaply. I'm very tight with money because I've never had very much money, so I like to sort of get things second hand or get things from charity shops or get things that aren't designed for hamsters but can be reused for them. And I like to buy from Viovet more recently because they're quite affordable, but I don't sort of go out and just spend a load of money because I just can't afford to do that. I don't know exactly how much I've spent over the years though, but I would definitely say more than a couple of hundred quid, and that's including cages and food and bedding and stuff like that as well. You do end up spending quite a lot. Do I wear contact lenses? No, I do not. I have 20/20 vision, which I'm actually very lucky with because I get my health from my dad's side of the family, or my lack of health, sorry, from my dad's side of the family, and they all wear glasses pretty much. My dad wears glasses, my grandparents wore glasses, my auntie and uncle wear glasses, all three of my brothers wear glasses, so all of that side of the family wears glasses. I have been incredibly lucky not to have them and not to have to wear them or contact lenses. And I've obviously got my vision from my mum's side of the family, which is a little bit healthier. The camera that I use is the Nikon D7000, it's the one I'm using right now, and my video editor is Sony Vegas 12. Queen Smile asks, has anyone ever come up to you and recognised you as the girl from Erin's Hamsters? What happened to Dan's Syrian hamster after you moved? Have you met any YouTubers such as Hopping Hammy, etc.? And does Dan have a channel? No, I've not been recognised before. I used to go to hamster shows a lot when I was living in Wales, and I went to 4 every year. There's hamster shows every single month run by the NHC. And I did once go there and I was recognised by someone, but I kind of in a way don't count that because obviously they're part of the hamster community and I was on forums at the time and a lot of the people there I knew from the forums, so we kind of all knew each other anyway, but I've not been recognised out in the real world or anything like that. I don't think I would be here either because hamsters aren't really a pet that's kept. They are really a very young child's pet out here. It's very, very much, they're very behind the times when it comes to animal care and stuff like that over here, so I don't think I would ever be recognised. Dan Syrian is still around, he's very happy, he's very healthy, he's living with Dan's parents, so yeah, that's what happened with him, he went to live with Dan's parents. No, I've never met any other YouTubers, especially not Hopping Hammy because she lives a very long way away, like 18-hour flight away or something ridiculously far like that. But no, I've never really lived anywhere where there's other YouTubers. I've always lived in quite remote, quite rural areas, so, and especially in Cyprus, I don't think there are any other Cyprus YouTubers. Not, there's obviously people on YouTube who are from Cyprus, but people who are perhaps a little more well known, I don't think there are that many on the island, so. No, Dan does not have a YouTube channel, mostly because he's too busy. He's not actually here at the minute. He is at work. He started back at work yesterday, and he works as a tourist entertainer at one of the hotels in a city about 40 minutes an hour away from here. And it's a live-in job, so he has to go up there and live in an apartment next to the hotel for 6 months, which is the whole season for where the tourists are coming. That's when the hotels are open. So he only comes about 1 day a week, so he doesn't really have time for doing things like that. And also, I don't think he'd be his temper isn't good for YouTube, because when it comes to being on YouTube, you have to be quite thick-skinned and you have to be good-tempered and friendly to people, because otherwise you won't get anywhere. And when Dan reads through some of my comments, he loses it sometimes, because I do get some silly comments and I do get some rude comments as well, and that's just part and parcel. That's what comes with YouTube. And Dan he flips completely, so I don't think he'd be the best kind of person to be on here. Shaylin Pickle says, would you ever get gerbils, and how do you feel about horses? I would consider gerbils, although again it's the same issue as with rats. You can't seem to find them anywhere. I've never seen gerbils in pet shops here. The only other rodents I've seen in pet shops really are mice. Don't think I've seen any other rodents actually, come to think of it. That's a bit strange. So I would like to get gerbils if I could find them, but the chances are pretty low. As for horses, yeah, they're lovely animals. I think they're quite sweet and good-natured and wonderful things. I would never own one myself. I don't have the desire or the money to own one. Horses are incredibly expensive. But to be honest, I have no real interest in owning horses, but they are really lovely animals, and I do think they're very sweet and very beautiful animals as well. Dolphin Bubble says, besides Jack, Amelais and Einstein, do you have any other pets? No, I don't. Those are our only 3 pets. If you're on our Instagram, though, you will sometimes see other pets around the house, like cats and dogs, and there's some other rabbits and stuff. Those aren't my pets. They belong to other family members, so they are sort of in my life. But the only pets I actually own, the only pets I have responsibility for, the only pets that will be coming with us when we move into our own place are the hamsters and Jack. Love You Milo asks, can you do your top 3 favourite pet toys, treats, food, bedding, and homemade toys? Oh my goodness. Okay, top 3 favourite pet toys. Bendy bridges, definitely. Hammocks. I'm going to say hide and seek toys, because I had a good look around after last week to see what kind of toys I seem to prefer, and those definitely seem to be the three I have the most of. All the hide and seek toys are brilliant, all basically toys with all little holes in that hamsters just duck and dive in and out of. Three favourite treats. Ooh, that's a difficult one. Yogurt drops are definitely sort of a staple treat, really. Dog biscuits, those are the other ones because I think they're absolutely brilliant for dental care. And seed sticks are the other one that I really, really like. For food, I only really have two that I like, and that's Burgess Hamster Harvest and a Harry Hamster, which is called Hazel Hamster if you live in the US. I don't really have a third one because I've never really found another food that I particularly like. For bedding, Oreos is definitely my top one, although I can't get hold of that. Aspen, I've only recently been able to get hold of and tried it for the very first time because I always used to use Oreos. I really like Aspen, it's quite close to Oreos. It doesn't smell quite as nice. I mean, it smells nice, but it's not quite as lovely. Oreos smells like you're in a rainforest. It smells lush, it's gorgeous. And I think, third one, I don't know. I hesitate to say Carefresh. I love the colours, and I love how soft it is and everything like that, and everything about it is great. But for me, who's used to using wood-based and hemp-based substrates, paper-based substrates just don't have the same kind of odour control. I just don't find that they're quite as good at controlling the smell. So I hesitate to put Carefresh in third place, but I can't really think of anything else either. As for homemade toys, I'm going to have to say regular toilet tissue tubes are top of that list because they're so easy to get, and every hamster loves them, whether they want to chew on them or crawl through them or do whatever it is they want to do with them. My hamsters like to rip them up and use them in their nests, which is interesting. The other thing I like, cardboard boxes. Just getting a cardboard box, cutting a few holes out of it, making a hide and seek toy out of it. And then, other than that, I kind of just anything. I like all homemade toys. I don't think I can fill up a third position with a specific one. Yeah, pretty much all of them, because they're awesome and amazing, and you can make so many different things and save so much money, which for me is a very big bonus. So this is going to be the last question now. Happy Hamster says, can two hamsters live together that are the same species but not brother or sister? First of all, it depends on the species. Obviously, Syrian hamsters cannot live together. Chinese hamsters cannot live together. Only the true dwarf hamsters can actually live with their own species. So that's Roborovskis, Winter Whites, and Campbells. Yes, they can live with unrelated hamsters of the same species, but there's a big but in this. I would not recommend trying it because the chance of them falling out is a lot higher if they're unrelated. It doesn't always work out, and I really wouldn't recommend it if you've never had experience bonding related pairs or having to rebond pairs or anything like that. If you haven't had experience with pairs or with bonding pairs, don't take the risk of trying to bond unrelated pairs because then you're just getting into a very complicated area and it can be a lot more difficult, and especially if you've never had the experience before. I have had unrelated pairs living together as well as related pairs. I did start off with only having related pairs living together, and then I did go into bonding unrelated pairs, and it was quite successful as well. I did have two sets of Roborovski sisters who were related obviously to their sisters but not to each other, and I had them bonded together as a group of 4. Two of the sisters were a lot older than the other two, so there was different ages involved there as well, and that worked out really well until one of them actually passed away from a tumour, and then it was a trio, and trios don't work out well at all, and they did live together quite a long time as a trio as well, but they did eventually fall out, which is almost inevitable with when you've just got 3 hamsters. And I also had an 18-month-old Roborovski living with an 8-week-old Roborovski. I believe she was 8 weeks old when we moved them in together. I know she was very young when they moved in together for the first time. And they worked so well. Again, though, that did end when the older one passed away. Only a few months later. They lived together for about 4 months, I think. They lived together a while. They got on really well, and it was really great. So it is absolutely possible, and it can work out really well. But I think you need the experience, and I think you need to know how to bond hamsters, what to look for in a couple that you think will bond well, because you need their personalities to mix well. You kind of need to be able to judge who's going to work with who and who isn't going to work with another hamster. And with the experience of bonding related pairs and with the experience of just owning pairs of hamsters, it definitely helps you to make the right decisions when it comes to bonding unrelated pairs. So there we are, that's the end of part 3. I hope the questions that I answered have been answered to the best of my ability and that you're happy with the answers that I've given. Of course, don't forget to check out part 2, which is linked below, and tune in next Friday for part 4, and probably many Fridays after that as well. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Easter weekend and you enjoy all the celebrations, depending on how they celebrate it in your country. Here in Cyprus, it is the biggest holiday of the year. It's even bigger than Christmas, so we're gonna have the feasts and the celebrations, and all the shops are closed and everything just shuts down and parties for an entire weekend and the rest of the week following it. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. I hope you guys are as well. Even if you don't celebrate Easter, I hope you're going to have a lovely and relaxing weekend. Don't forget to go check out and subscribe to my second channel if you haven't already. It is linked below, but if you want to search it, it's called Teacup Vlogs, and I post videos on there every weekend, usually on a Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday, because sometimes my videos are late. But if you want something that's less pet related and a bit more, you know, real life, silly, fun stuff, check out my second channel. There should be a video up there tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow if you're on my second channel, and right back here on Monday. Bye bye, guys! Hey guys, so I know it's Saturday and I don't normally do videos on this channel on Saturday, but some of you are a bit confused as to where I was this week and why there weren't as many videos, so I thought I needed to do a little bit of an explanation for you guys. So the reason there were only 2 videos this week is because since Monday I have been really ill, and the first 2 videos were pre-recorded, so I'm actually okay and healthy in those ones, but from Monday I was quite stressed over something, and I didn't sleep very much Monday night, and then Tuesday I went to bed at 8 p.m. And then I also had a nap later in that day, and that's not like me. I don't like to nap in the day, and I'm certainly not used to sleeping from 8 o'clock in the evening. That's very early for me. I don't sleep very much. Normally from about midnight till 6 in the morning is enough for me. So that was sort of the first signs that I wasn't feeling too good, and I was trying to do my videos and I was very groggy because I hadn't slept, and then I slept too much, and obviously I napped in the day and I missed my filming time, because normally I film when the sun is in a certain position in the sky, so that, like right now, the light isn't a bit dodgy, which it is at the minute because it's a bit later in the evening than I normally film. And then when I did try and film my videos, I found that I had a really hard time sitting in front of the camera for an hour, and not only trying to talk and keep my attention on the camera, which I was having real trouble doing because I was just losing my train of thought, which I mean I'm still doing a bit now, and I couldn't remember what I was talking about and I was going off topic. And also in the nicest way possible, I'm going to put this, I literally was in the bathroom every few minutes over this week, and so I couldn't sit in front of the camera for an hour, literally, because within about half an hour that'd be it. I'd have to get up and leave the camera. So I did say on Twitter that I wasn't actually going to be posting videos because I was unwell, and you guys are so sweet because you sent me so many kind get well messages and get well pictures and things like that, and it really made me smile and it made me feel so much better reading all of those and seeing all those pictures. And I want to say a huge thank you, because it was so sweet of all of you to do that, because it's like, you don't have to, and you do, and that's why I love you. So I know some of you don't follow me on Twitter and you were a bit confused as to where I was. If you have a Twitter and you're not following me, go follow me. And if you don't have a Twitter, go make one and follow me, because if I ever don't post a video, I always tweet to say why. I don't always put it on the other social networks, but my Twitter is linked up to my personal Facebook. If you're on my personal Facebook, I don't use my personal Facebook anymore really, but my Twitter account is still linked up to it, so you'll still see whenever I post a tweet, it's on my Facebook as well, which I think makes people think I'm active on Facebook, which I'm not. Bit confusing. But if I ever don't post a video, I always make sure I tell people that I'm not going to be posting a video and why I'm not going to be posting a video, and if I don't say that I'm not going to be posting a video, the video's probably just late. I am a procrastinator. That is something that I get from my mother. We're all procrastinators and we don't like to do things on time, and I spend way too much time wasting it thinking, oh, I'll film in a minute, I'll edit in a minute, just in a minute, I'll just go and do something that I don't need to do. Seriously, I just sit and watch Dr. Phil instead, because apparently that's more important than filming on some days. So once in a while videos do go up late, and that's just the way things are, but they will be up, and because sometimes they go up late, you might find that if you didn't have a video on Tuesday, you'll get like 2 videos on Wednesday or something like that. I always make sure, even if I do a late video, it doesn't take the place of the next day's video. I always make sure I keep doing all the videos for 5 videos a week, and I always try my best to get all of them done. I feel like I might be rambling a little bit, but the other thing I wanted to say to you guys is I don't know for certain if there's going to be a video on Teacup Vlog this week, because normally I pre-record the Teacup Vlogs videos and I do them in the week. Obviously I've not been recording this week because I've not been well. I don't know for certain. That's not a yes and that's not a no to whether there'll be a video. That's if there's a video, there's a video, and if there's not, there's not. So I'm going to have to see if I can fit in filming time, because I'm already going to start filming for next week videos now. And by the way, I want to thank you guys, because all of next week we'll be doing viewer videos, and those are videos that I've noticed a lot of you have been asking for recently, or perhaps you've been asking questions about certain things a lot recently, and I will make videos out of them because I feel that they're topics that obviously a lot of people want to know the answers to, so I'm going to make videos for you. So this video is literally just to update you on where I've been, why I've not been posting videos, and to say to you, go and follow me on Twitter so that you know if there's not going to be a video. Otherwise, just assume there is going to be. I also hope you've enjoyed watching Jack eating his lunch, because he's quite happily nomming on the leftovers of some romaine and curly lettuce, which is wonderful. So thank you for watching this update video, guys. Hopefully next week everything will be back to normal. I feel a lot better, so fingers crossed nothing happens between now and Monday, and everything should be back to the norm. Until then, make sure you take care of yourselves, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye, guys. Hey guys! In today's video I'm going to be talking with you about identifying what species of hamster you own. The reason I'm doing this video is because pet shops and backyard breeders confuse a lot of hamster owners by giving the hamsters they sell weird, made-up nicknames, often so that they can sell you the hamster for a much higher price. So by the end of this video, I hope to have helped you identify which species of hamster you own if you didn't know already, or if you thought it was something else. Let's start by talking about which species are available for us to keep in a domestic environment. So there are only 5 species of domestic hamster that we can get our hands on. There are other species of hamster in the world, but these are wild or they're found only in zoos. The 5 species of domestic hamster are Syrian hamsters, Chinese hamsters, winter white Russian dwarf hamsters, Campbell's Russian dwarf hamsters, and Roborovsky dwarf hamsters. Now these are different species and not breeds, and because they're different species they cannot interbreed. That means they can't breed with other species of hamster. There is only one exception to this rule, and that is the winter white Russian dwarf and the Campbell's Russian dwarf. Now because these are so closely related and their genetics are so very similar, they can actually breed together and produce live offspring, which is known as the Russian hybrid dwarf hamster or just the hybrid dwarf hamster. Now just because these 2 species have the ability to interbreed, it doesn't mean they should. It's very unnatural. The babies are often born with medical problems, including general health problems and neurological problems. Being able to breed together isn't something that would happen in the wild, and is only something that's occurred since humans have intervened with these hamsters. This interbreeding between these 2 species is incredibly risky for both the mother and the pups, and in fact hybrid dwarf hamster breeding is considered unethical and cruel to the hamsters. Now hybrid dwarf hamsters are still very popular pets, and they do make very good pets. I've owned some myself. And because hybrids are this unnatural cross species between Campbell's and winter whites, they're usually categorised under one of those. So because they can be categorised under winter white or Campbell's, I'm not going to give them their own separate box, and I'm just going to talk about those 5 domestic species: Syrians, Chinese, winter whites, Campbell's and Roborovskys. So like I said, a lot of confusion is caused by pet shops and backyard breeders using made-up names, and there are a lot of made-up names out there. If your hamster was given to you with any other name other than those 5 that I've already mentioned, then it is a nickname and that isn't its actual species. Like I say though, by the end of this video I hope for you to be able to identify what species it really is. So first of all we have the Syrian hamster. This one I find the easiest to identify of all the domestic hamsters because it's the biggest one. An adult Syrian usually measures about 7 inches in body length, and they do have a very distinct body shape. However, they do come in many different colours, many different patterns, many different coat types, and many different coat lengths, which is why they can be so confusing. It would be near impossible for me to list off all of the different looking Syrians that you can find, so on screen now I'm going to be putting some pictures of what some of the different Syrians look like. Now please note, these are not all of the Syrians. I could not get hold of all of the photos of all the different Syrians, But these are the most common ones, these are the most popular ones. A lot of these are ones I know have common nicknames for, such as the black bear and the panda bear and the teddy bear hamster. You'll see those on screen. Well, these are all Syrian hamsters. And if you look at their body shape, this is the most important thing. If you look at their long body shape and also their large body size, as well as the size and the shape of their head, you can tell they're very easy to identify from the other species of hamster, especially from dwarf hamsters. So this is my Syrian hamster, so you can see for reference roughly how big they are. Now he is a small Syrian, they do get a lot bigger than this, but you are able to see his overall body shape and general size. My Syrian doesn't have a pattern, he just has a colour, and his colour is black. And as you can see, he also has very long fur because he is a long-haired Syrian. Because he's a male, his fur, which is also known as a skirt, is a lot longer. If he was a female, it would be very short and tufty. Again though, their skirts can grow much longer than this. He has a very short skirt and they can grow to be a couple of inches long. You can also of course get short-haired Syrians, but you can also get Syrians with a curly coat, and this coat type is known as Rex. So take a good long look at your hamster, because Syrian hamsters have the most nicknames of any other hamster, and they are the most confusing species. However, no matter what they were sold to you as, they are all entirely 100% Syrian hamsters. Next, there are Chinese hamsters, which are often mislabeled as Chinese dwarf hamsters. I can guarantee you they are not dwarf hamsters. Again, I'm going to show you some photos on screen of what Chinese hamsters look like. Now these are incredibly easy again to identify from the other species of hamster, mostly because they don't look anything like hamsters. Chinese hamsters have very long, very slender and quite flat bodies, and their most distinct feature is that long tail, which can grow from 1 to 3 centimeters in length. They also have very large ears and a very pointed face, which makes a lot of people mistake them for mice or rats. I find the easiest way to know if a hamster is a Chinese hamster or not is just to check that tail though, because they're the only species of domestic hamster that has a long tail. Chinese hamsters do come in a variety of colours, however there's only really 3 that you see very commonly around. If you own a Chinese hamster, the chances are you own either an agouti hamster, which is a kind of brown colouring with a grey dorsal stripe and a white belly, a dom spot Chinese hamster, which is white with black eyes, a long grey stripe and kind of grey fuzzing, a little bit of grey spotting on their back. Or a black-eyed white Chinese hamster, which is the most commonly mistaken as a mouse because they have black eyes and a pure white body with no dorsal stripe and no patterning. That's not to say there aren't more different colours of Chinese hamster, it's just you're more likely to own one of those 3 colours than any other colour. Next, there is the winter white Russian dwarf hamster and the Campbell's Russian dwarf hamster. Now I am going to kind of talk about these together because, like I said earlier, they're very similar species of hamster and they can easily be confused with each other, especially with hybrids being around everywhere as well. Winter white dwarf hamsters and Campbell's dwarf hamsters have very similar body shapes. This is my winter white dwarf hamster and you can get a general idea of what they look like. They're quite round in shape and there's no defined neck. Their face is sort of part of their body and their ears lie somewhere in between where their head starts and their body finishes. They have a very short tail on the back and they have quite spindly legs and little fluffy feet. They also have a very short and very rounded snout. Now the easiest way to tell winter whites and Campbell's apart is by identifying whether your hamster has a winter white colouring. That's because Campbell's dwarf hamsters, just like Syrians, have so many different colours, so many different patterns and so many different fur types. Now winter whites do have a lot more colours available these days than they used to, but again there's only about 4 very popular colours. There's agouti, which is the colour of my hamster, and it's sort of a greyish brown kind of colour with a very dark browny black dorsal stripe and a white underbelly. There's also sapphire, which is a light grey, silverish blue kind of colour, again with a dark grey dorsal stripe and a white belly. There are pearl winter whites, and there are a few different types of pearl winter whites, but they generally look the same. They're pretty much white all over, with a light to dark grey dorsal stripe running down their back. Now it should be noted that some domestic winter whites, like their wild relatives, do change colour when the days start to shorten in the winter. They may just lighten in colour, but oftentimes they will go pure white, and that includes their dorsal stripe as well. Now there are a couple of other different winter white colours, and I'm going to show you those on screen now so you can have a look at them. So if you have taken a look at your dwarf hamster and you've seen its colour on that list, it's obviously a winter white or a winter white hybrid. However, if it looks the same in body shape but doesn't have the same colour or any of those colours on that list, the chances are it's probably a Campbell's or Campbell's hybrid. So it is very difficult to tell winter whites from Campbell's, but I find that's the easiest way. See if you can identify it as a winter white, and if it doesn't look like a winter white, it's probably a Campbell's. And finally, we have Roborovski dwarf hamsters. Now, I don't own any Roborovskis at the minute, but I've owned a lot of them in the past, so I'm going to flash up a load of different pictures of Roborovskis because, again, they come in many different colours these days. The standard Roborovski, known as the agouti, is the one you'll typically see in shops. This colouring is a light brown top coat with a slate grey undercoat, a white belly, and the most distinctive part of all, they have white eyebrows above their eyes, and it's adorable. Roborovskis are also the only domestic hamster other than Syrians not to have a dorsal stripe. So if you have a very small dwarf hamster and it doesn't have that dorsal stripe running down its back, the chances are it could be a Roborovski. When it comes to body shape, Roborovskis are even funnier looking than Winter Whites or Campbells, and that's because there's even less difference between where their head begins and where their body ends. They really do look like a ball of fluff with a face and ears. Roborovskis are the smallest species of domestic hamster, and although some of them can grow to quite big sizes, including 40 to 50 grams, most of them are very small, usually between 20 and 30 grams at the most. One really noticeable feature about Roborovskis is the way they walk. Because Roborovskis' back legs are set further apart than their front legs to help them run faster, they tend to walk with a sort of a weird kind of wobble. You don't see Roborovskis walk that much because they're often running, but if you do see them walk, have a look because they do have a kind of strut going on there. So hopefully, having described what each of these hamsters looks like and showing you a lot of different pictures, you should be able to identify what species of hamster you own. However, if you're still unable to identify which species of hamster you have, or you're a little bit confused, please feel free to send me a photo on my Instagram or even on my Twitter. I'll take a look at the hamster, see what it looks like, and I'll identify the species for you just to help you out. Magic tricks, Amelie's has grown! So I hope you found this video useful, guys, and I really hope it's going to help to eliminate some of the confusion among what species of hamster everyone owns. If you did enjoy it or find it useful, please leave a thumbs up to let us know, and it really helps the channel out. It helps us out even more if you want to hit the share button and share it with your friends on Facebook or Twitter, and of course if you subscribe to the channel as well. Subscribing to the channel gives you the extra bonus of always knowing whenever we upload brand new videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye! Hey guys! So recently I found myself discussing this topic with a lot of you down in the comment section of my videos and over on Instagram, so I thought perhaps a video was needed. The topic of this video, as you can probably tell from the title, is can hamsters live together? Though some people may think this is an easy yes or no question, in fact it's a little more difficult than that, and it does depend on the species of hamster you're talking. Hey guys! So recently I found myself discussing this topic with a lot of you down in the comment section of my videos and over on Instagram, so I thought perhaps a video was needed. The topic of this video, as you can probably tell from the title, is can hamsters live together? Though some people may think this is an easy yes or no question, in fact it's a little more difficult than that, and it does depend on the species of hamster you're talking about. First, I'll quickly recap you on the 5 species of domestic hamster. There's the Syrian hamster, which is the largest species, the Chinese hamster, which is the slender-bodied long-tailed species, the winter white Russian dwarf hamster, the Campbell's Russian dwarf hamster, and the Roborovski dwarf hamster. And just as a quick reminder, hamsters are different species and not different breeds, and the difference between breed and species is that different breeds of the same animal can breed together and produce live offspring, and different species of animal cannot breed together, they cannot produce live offspring, which is exactly what happens with hamsters. If they were to try and cross-species mate, nothing would come of it, they would not be able to produce any live babies. The fact that they are all different species and not breeds is an important fact to remember, and I'll explain why later in the video. So on answering the question can hamsters live together, I'm going to go in order of species and talk about them individually. First we have the Syrian hamster. This is the most popular species of hamster. It comes in many different colours, many different coat types, many different coat lengths, and Syrians are typically the species that pop to mind whenever anyone thinks about hamsters. Now, Syrian hamsters cannot live with other hamsters, they are solitary, and they choose to be that way. In the wild, Syrian hamsters will leave their mother and siblings at around 6 to 8 weeks old. This is their time in their lives when they start being independent. They can feed themselves, they can look after themselves. As a part of this adult independence, an instinct kicks in, causing them to see other hamsters as a threat to their safety, their territory, and their resources. That means food, water, and shelter. So naturally they're going to want to keep other hamsters away, and their instinct in the wild when they see another hamster is to do whatever it takes to keep them away from injuring them, from taking their territory, or from taking any of their resources. And for Syrian hamsters, this means fighting like your life depends on it, which it really does, and oftentimes that means fighting to the death. This instinct has not been lost on their domestic relatives, and pet Syrians still have that need to protect themselves and all of their possessions. Most of the time when two adult Syrians are put together in a domestic environment, they will fight and they can cause very serious injuries or even kill each other. There are a few cases where this instinct seems to have been diluted slightly, and the Syrians may live together in what seems like a happy state. In actual fact, that instinct is still there, it's just very bottled up inside of them, and this will cause them to feel a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety towards the other hamster. That stress and anxiety alone is dangerous to your hamster's health. It can cause numerous health problems, including the deadly disease wet tail. It will also weaken their immune system, making them vulnerable to other diseases, both treatable and deadly. And finally, living in a stressful situation has been proven to shorten a hamster's lifespan. In the majority of cases, that stress and anxiety builds up over time, and even if the hamsters have been living together for weeks or months or even years, eventually that stress, that anxiety comes to the surface and it comes out and that instinct is shown, and the hamsters will fight, and they will fight more severely than any other hamster. Think how you feel when you bottle up your anger. When it eventually comes to surface, it's a lot worse than if you just let it out in the first place. That's pretty much what happens. So that's a long explanation of why Syrians cannot live together. It's unnatural, they don't like it, they are happiest when living alone, they are designed to live alone, they will not get lonely living alone, and they do not desire any kind of friendship or companionship from another hamster. To force a Syrian to live with another hamster is detrimental to their health and welfare, and is actually considered to be animal cruelty. Second on this list is Chinese hamsters, and there is a lot of confusion over whether Chinese hamsters can or cannot live with other hamsters. The reason this confusion exists is because pet shops continue to mislabel Chinese hamsters as Chinese dwarf hamsters. Now, dwarf hamsters are naturally social, and we'll come to that in a minute, but Chinese hamsters are not dwarf hamsters. In fact, they belong to a completely different genus. Just like Syrian hamsters, Chinese hamsters are much happier living alone. Now, they don't get quite as aggressive as Syrians when they do live in pairs, but they can fight to the death just as easily. Times have changed a lot when it comes to owning Chinese hamsters. A lot of opinions have changed, a lot of facts have changed, a lot of facts have been discovered. And these days, Chinese hamsters are considered to be a solitary hamster, and therefore they should live alone. Now I'm going to talk to you about the three dwarf hamster species, but there is a little pre-explaining that's needed. Dwarf hamster is not a species on its own. In fact, dwarf hamster refers to their genus, which is Phodopus. If you know your order of animals, you'll know that genus comes before species. So their genus is Phodopus, and their individual species are the winter white, the Campbell's, and the Roborovski. Now, I did say I was going to tell you why knowing that they're different species and not breeds was important, and this is why. Different species of hamster, even the social species, cannot live with other species of hamster. So even though winter whites, Campbell's, and Roborovskis are all social species, they're social amongst themselves. You cannot have, for example, a winter white living with a Roborovski, or a winter white living with a Campbell's, or a Campbell's living with a Roborovski. They can only live with their own species. That means Roborovskis with Roborovskis, Campbell's with Campbell's, and winter whites with winter whites. So when it comes to the three species of dwarf hamster, yes, they can live with other hamsters, but they must be the same species. Having said that, don't go into owning groups or pairs of dwarf hamsters lightly. It can be a difficult task, and they can fight and fall out. In the wild, where there are a lot of same species hamsters, they would form large groups known as hordes of about 10 dwarf hamsters. However, these hordes are not made up by random hamsters just joining the group. They have to be accepted into the group, and they have to get along with the other hamsters. If the new hamster doesn't get along with all of the hamsters in the horde, they will end up being chased out, and if they refuse to leave, they're likely to be fought with and even killed. This still applies to domestic dwarf hamsters. Just because they're the same species, it doesn't mean they're going to get along. They need to have complementing personalities, and they need to get along with each other. They need to be able to build a hierarchy and understand who is in charge and who is the submissive hamster. If they are unable to form a secure hierarchy, for example, if both hamsters want to be in charge, or if neither hamster wants to be in charge, then that pair is more likely to fight and fall out. Because it's incredibly difficult to know whether two dwarf hamsters are actually going to get along, you are taking a bit of a risk when you choose to get a pair or a group. Because living in pairs and groups is a very natural instinct for dwarf hamsters, I don't advise against it, but I do advise taking precautions if you're going to make the decision to buy a pair or group. The first precaution is to make sure you have a spare cage, or you at least have the space for a spare cage. Now, dwarf hamsters do fight even if they get along. That's natural, that's part of forming the hierarchy. But if they have an extreme fight, it will be very sudden and it can cause a lot of injuries. If your hamsters ever draw blood from each other, that is the point where you must separate them that moment. And this is why having a spare cage is so important. The second precaution to take is not to get trios. It isn't completely understood why trios of dwarf hamsters rarely get along, but there are some theories. One of the theories states that dwarf hamsters actually form a pairing bond, and that pair can go on to bond with another pair. Single hamsters are seen as a threat to the horde as they may attract more predators. So to get rid of the threat, they outcast that lone hamster, usually pairing up to bully it and hurt it. Now, I do want to say that is just a theory, and there aren't enough facts to conclusively say that that is the reason why it happens. But it is advised not to get odd-numbered groups. So hopefully that answers that question for you no matter what species of hamster you own. So to just go over that quickly again, Syrian hamsters are solitary and are happiest living alone. Chinese hamsters are solitary. Winter white dwarf hamsters are social with other winter whites. Campbell's dwarf hamsters are social with other Campbells. And Roborovsky dwarf hamsters are social with other Roborovskys. And finally, because all domestic hamsters are different species and not different breeds, they cannot live with other species of hamster. So I hope this video has cleared up that topic for anybody who is wondering and answered your questions. Don't forget, if you bought a hamster with an unusual name, a hamster that wasn't referred to as a Syrian, Chinese, winter white, Campbell's or Roborovsky, and it was perhaps given an unusual name such as a teddy bear hamster, a panda bear hamster, a black bear hamster, a blueberry hamster, a pudding hamster, a mandarin hamster, a mushroom hamster, or any name other than those 5 species, then that's not its real name. I say this because this also causes a lot of confusion, but those really are the only 5 species of domestic hamster. If you bought a hamster and it has any other kind of name, unfortunately, it is part of one of the biggest pet shop scams around at the minute. It's not a major scam, it's not the end of the world, but it is a common one where pet shops will sell you a hamster under some unusual, strange name, so that either it makes you think it's rare and promotes you to buy it when perhaps you wouldn't have normally bought it, or as in the case of one large chain pet shop I know in the US, they give them different names so they can sell them to you for more money. If you are confused over what species of hamster you own, feel free to send me a photo over on Instagram. It is linked below. Send me the photo, I'll take a look, I can tell you what species it is, and that should hopefully solve your problems and answer your questions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video wasn't too long. There was just a lot of explaining to do and I want to make sure I got all the information in there. So I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. And I also hope you'll be tuning in tomorrow for another video. If you want to know when the videos are posted, hit the subscribe button down there and it will make sure that you are always notified whenever I upload a new video. You could also like and share this video to help the channel out and I would really appreciate it. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye! Rochelle Hutchins asks, what is your favourite wild animal? What is your favourite food? What is your favourite colour? If you could have any small pet, what would it be? And last but not least, what is your favourite YouTube video